at Focus on Liberia. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. And this is Focus on Liberia. Today is Saturday, and we are having a Saturday special going into politics. We will be analyzing the trending political stories that everyone talking about. My name is Ansony, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our broadcast. Do us that usual favor, hit that share button because we're going to break it down. We're going to look at the bigger picture of all of the things that people are talking about politically. The emotions are high, and we want to break it down into pieces so that when you leave from here today, you will have a better understanding of how to look at it so as to minimize tension. The chief political analyst is here, Wilmot Kunney, and Mr. Dennis Jha, the well-rounded guy who can break things down for you to understand. Mr. Jha.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another broadcast of Focus on Liberia. This is our Saturday special, and we are glad to have our chief political analyst, Mr. Wilmot Kunney, in the house to break things down. A lot of things has transpired just in the few weeks, even just the last week. There have been a lot of trending political issues, and we are here to bring them to you exactly as they are and provide some context around those stories with analysis and the implications for our democracy. Mr. Kunney, welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is your house.
Thank you. Happy to be here again.
All right, Mr. Kunney there, and we're going to start a little differently today. Maybe not differently, but let me say this. We will have a prayer. What kind of prayer is he talking about? This is unusual, but a prayer. We start. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. May your kingdom come. Let your will be done in heaven, even halfway as it is in heaven. Teach us this day how to love and work hard. Wind us off of foreign aid and dependency, and forgive us our debts and bad habits, but punish those who stole the little we own and borrow. For that is wickedness on the part of the powerful, seeking glory and wealth on our backs forever and ever. Amen and amen. Mr. Jha, powerful protocol prayer there.
Right.
Is that it?
I call that the Broadview prayer, and that was written in 2018, February to be exact. Our Liberians, most of us are religious people. And so that was copied from the popular or borrowed from the Lord's Prayer, which is our Father in heaven. So it went like, our Father in heaven, same way, hallowed be thy name. But I wanted that the Lord will be done in Liberia, even if it is not completely how it is in heaven, but just halfway in heaven. So, and what I'm happy about is that prayer is still real even today.
Mr. Kunney, you care to comment on the prayer? Powerful prayer indeed. You're talking about how the powerful are trying to feed on our backs.
Well, that's the story of the nation. And I think that's one of the impediments that, that has caused us to not build a nation. When you have a nation where the relationship is based on master-servant relationship, you truly cannot build a nation. So the prayer is indeed powerful. We need to see ourselves as equal citizens of the Republic of Liberia and form national consensus on certain issues while we debate other issues. We cannot debate every issue. Every issue cannot be debatable. Then it looks like we are strangers to one another. So I think the prayer is more appropriate.
Thank you. All right, let's get started officially here, folks. You are aware there is tension in the country politically. There's a lot of trending political issues that everyone been talking about. But when they talk about it, all we hear is emotion. All we hear is this person is wrong. Everybody defending their side and trying to look for the devil in the other. But that is not what we are here to do. We are here to analyze the issue, and so that everybody can look in it and say, hey, maybe I was wrong or maybe I was right. let's get started. So let's look at the issue that started with Abraham Darius Dillon. Mr. Dillon, of very recent issue what is clearly a threat to the CDC government. He made the statement that if the CDC should attempt, or if the government attempt to rig the election, this coming by election, then the government of President Weah or the Liberian government will end abruptly. That's what his statement. In other words, Senator Dillon is saying if he wins the election and the results get thwarted by the government because they don't want to see him as senator, that will mark the end of the CDC government. So the Interreligious Faith Council, the pastors and religious leaders, so to speak, called Dillon, and they wanted to hear from him to explain and provide clarity why he was threatening to end this government abruptly. Because when a government is ended by force, looking at our history, there is always chaos. And so they got concerned. But the thing is Dillon the only one who has made similar statement? So we want to know whether or not the Interreligious Council was fair enough to have called Dillon. There are others who have made similar statement. We don't remember whether they were able to call individuals who made similar threat. For example, Prince Johnson has been on record.
Mr. Sieh,
yes,
that's a whole lot to unpack. So
okay.
let's take it one at a time. Let's start with Dillon's statement.
Okay.
And what I want us to look at is when someone says something, we look at whether that person has the capacity to do it or it's just big mouth. Yeah. Big smoke, no fire. Just smoke, no fire.
No fire.
That's one. And then we look at the human being Dillon, what has been his record when it comes to violence. Mm-hmm. Then we look at what the pattern has been. You know, people, is he someone who will make such a threat and follow through? So we look at that pattern, and Dillon came to the Senate, as the light. Mm-hmm. Even though some say that Chinese light, some say the light is under the table and all that. But I think he has delivered on that nomenclature of being the light. He has taken steps in that direction. Mm-hmm. So when I'm looking at his threat as reckless as that statement is, I'm looking for whether it's just big mouth, to scare somebody. I'm looking at his past, whether he has done something similar to violence, mm-hmm. or he has the capacity to end the government of Liberia abruptly. Okay. I don't really see that. The statement, though, irresponsible.
So what's your conclusion there? So it's just big bluff? Or
big mouth. Big. I mean, right in these days now, and Mr. Kunney, who's the analyst here, knows this better than I do. In these days, Liberians, in our politics, we just got to be listening to big mouth. People are talking. People in the streets, they are singing, they are dancing, and they are making big mouth. Sometimes there is no logic in it. Sometimes those things are not backed by any statistics. There's no empirical form. But people just talk. So, and if you watch Facebook today, there are people who make even bigger mouths and bigger threats than that. But it's all big smoke, no fire. I'm not even worried about that threat.
Mr. Kunney, Dillon carries a lot of power. So do you agree with Dennis? It's just empty talk?
No, I totally disagree with my brother Dennis. All of the reasons that Dennis listed are precisely the very reason we have to be careful about what we say as leaders of the country. I take it, that we should make a distinction. I think there should be a distinction between what the ordinary people who may not have access to power, who may not have access to the corridors of power, what they say, maybe out of ignorance, or maybe out of their not being aware to what responsible political leaders say. I think that matters. What the leaders say, what our leaders say, what those of us on this platform every day and each night we appear on this platform, what we say matters. Because the assumption is that views and opinions we express should not be ordinary opinion. So the reason why I think that the Dillon threat and any other threat by people in leadership should be taken seriously is that almost every political leader in our country got some clusters of supporters throughout the country. So when you're speaking, you may be making an empty threat, but you don't know how your supporters interpret what you are saying. You don't know how what you are saying motivates your supporters. So this is why politicians on all sides, be it in the government and in the opposition, I think they should exercise what we call a little bit of self-censure as to what we put out there. Because we got clusters, there are clusters of supporters. You speak into a government that has supporters. You yourself, you have supporters. So to make these kind of threats, I think it was regrettable. And the reason I even make it more regrettable is the fact that Dillon is from a political institution, the Liberty Party, that has developed, that has shown Liberians the roadmap as to what to do when election is called into dispute. When election is called into dispute, you don't end a government abruptly. There are legal processes you pursue to factually prove that the election was faulty or is faulty. So these things are very important, and it's disappointing for people that in the legislature that have the platform to ensure that our elections are transparent, for them to fill in that responsibility and begin to make these bombastic statements that is falling in the ears of people whose action we may not control, whose action we don't have the ability to control. So it's a very regretful statement. It is regrettable. And I also say that to say that as a former community leader, many of our organizations in the diaspora here are torn apart by allegations of election fraud. Most of them unfounded. Most of the claims are based on this concept of perfect election. There is nothing like perfect election. Every election will have some form of a problem. Even in the United States here, people go out to vote, polling stations may not open on time, people give fake information.
Mr. Kunney, let me stop you right there, because I ran against you in the Sieh County election and also in Eula. Now you are telling me, and we cry foul. Now you are telling me it's not, it was not perfect.
The file was not factually established. What I'm saying, there are rules.
No, you are saying the election fraud did not reach to that level.
Well, I don't know whether there was a fraud that was established, but what I'm saying generally, what I'm saying is that most of the time, we take our opinions of the election, what we think that goes wrong, and conclude that the election is not fair. But when we are given the platform to factually present the evidence that the election is not fair, most of the time it's one thing. So because let me the Liberty Party case. The Liberty Party case was asking the Supreme Court of Liberia to use the appearance of few bad examples, a few polling stations, to declare the election null and void. What did the Supreme Court say? Philip Banks was told them that it was a tall order to look at few irregularities in 2-3 polling stations, and now you want to go to speculate that what occurred in the entire Republic of Liberia, that we should set an election aside. You see?
No, I wanted to. Yeah. Oh, from Arizona, yeah. Guilford. Mhm. Right. Right. And Mr. Sieh, I'm not trying to say that those statements were, I said they were reckless and irresponsible. Okay. And the lady you were talking about is Gabby Gifford. All right. So for the long statement, all I'm saying is those statements are reckless and irresponsible. That's what we see in Liberia. People are just talking. And it's just like we are in another place. But what I'm saying is this is Big Mouth. He doesn't have the capacity to bring the current government to an abrupt end. But statement like that shouldn't come from the mouth of someone who has come with the morale of being the light. That light was dim right there. But then let's go to the second part about the interfaith.
Yeah.
Let's start with their role. What are they supposed to be doing? From what I see in Liberia that is taking place is people assume responsibility, to maybe find their own spot to get in the limelight or find way to get their own chopping too. I'm not saying that in the case of the interfaith, but there are certain issues that really should be left with the people responsible for it. Interfaith now calling people on, if they make statement, that's not their role.
Can I come in?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you partly that, I mean, in everything that we're doing here, we really don't need a speech police. We don't need a police that will monitor free speech. But we can also agree that when the exercise of that free speech crosses a certain threshold that has the potential to undermine the entire system, then we think individuals of goodwill need to step in. So there are certain times that individuals of goodwill need to come in and say, look, what you are saying is has the potential of undermining the collective peace. As I indicated, whether it is Mr. George Weah, whether it is Mr. Darius Dillon or Mr. Cummings, all of these politicians, they have their supporters located within the Republic of Liberia. So it makes it imperative that they all be very careful what they say to each other, because none of their supporters need approval from any of them to act. The fact that you insert that the government will end abruptly? Do you think that a supporter of the government that want to react to that statement is necessarily waiting for instruction from somewhere? They just get and feel like, oh, my government that I support is under attack. So it go either way. So if they reach to that point, then I think, people of Google, be it the interreligious people, be it people that believe in the peace of the country, need to come and say, you know what, we need to tone down the rhetoric. But we don't need a speech police that will police every speech that people make in the country. I don't think we need that. But when it crosses that line of undermining our entire system, then I think whether friendly intervention, religious intervention, I think may be necessary to put people on course. Because I say that to say that most of the election violence, again, I'm drawing on my community experience, is based on the fact that there are politicians that go to election. The only outcome they expect is to win. The other outcome they're not talking about, the only good election is the election that they win. If they don't win, the election is wrong. The election is fraudulent.
Yeah.
But there are two results to the election. You have to win or you got to lose.
Mr. Sieh, before you come in, there's one thing I want to stress is this whole Liberian mentality of hanging heads. Let hang head, right? So someone, maybe in the case of the law, it's not a crime. But sometimes if people make those kind of statements, and if we feel that certain things are wrong or it's something that is against the law, they should be processed through the law. But when people step in to say, come, let's talk, most of the time, we like to end things that way. And so we always maybe make this statement to get some attention or get some people coming to us to talk, or so we can have some conference and then we begin to talk. We have the experience with all the Akosomo and the Abuja Peace Accord. Let this thing, let the law or the legal process take place when any of these things happen. Peacekeepers and interfaith people, it's not their place. Mr. Sieh.
Well, Mr. Jal, there's something called freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and it is guaranteed under the Constitution. And religious leaders are supposed to be this moral voice to call on people, when they hear something that has the propensity to bring about conflict. I don't see anything being wrong with that. But what I would say is if you want to do that, you have to be consistent so that you will not be seen as biased. If you listen to their justification, why they call Darius Dillon and did not call others who made similar threats, they said because Dillon is an honest man. That was their justification. He's a serious-minded man. He's honest. And so they can't take his statement that lightly. Now, you make the point earlier that whole Dillon is just making big mouth. He has no history of violence. And, so, he's just trying to be a tough guy. But for them, they see Dillon as the guy, he's a truth teller. And so it is on that basis they call him. But my disappointment with them too is Prince Johnson has the diabolical history of taking away lives. And he has been making a lot of statements. And all the religious leaders know Prince Johnson's capacity. They know his record. They didn't call him. Now, Jefferson Koji too, I don't know whether they trust him or they don't trust him. He had made similar threat when he said that, look, if a cause that would defend our democracy with our sweat and blood, we will do it. Jefferson Koji said that. They never called him. Mumba Molu said the most slanderous thing of all against the president, accused the president, even though it was recorded secretly, but those were his words, he didn't deny it. They didn't move at all. I don't remember the last time they called Yeka Koluba, who have been making all the reckless and idiotic statements all the time. I don't remember when last they called him. And so if you see the need to call somebody because they make a statement, To you that has a propensity of bringing about conflict, you should do it across the board. And that's what they are not doing. Mr. Kunney.
You may have a point there, but as I indicated earlier, like you said, free speech is a constitutionally guaranteed right for all Liberians. And the Constitution says you bear the responsibility of that speech.
Right.
The Constitution don't define how you bear that responsibility, but I think society as a whole can come together, to adopt a set of norms that will make people to pay for what they say. Mm. We are here in this society where you find advertisers pull their advertisement from certain news outlets. You find people, breaking associations based on what a politician say or what somebody else say. In the United States, we got a movement where Barack Obama broke from his own revenue based on that revenue freedom of speech, preaching in the church. So, for me, the way I see it is the way we approach most things in our country. Every time we say, we argue right, as if to say all of these rights are absolute. The rights are there to guide our behavior. But then we should also have an agreement on what the basic norm should be. Because I have the right to say something doesn't mean I should open my mouth and say anything that comes across my mouth. I have the right to say so. But where are the norms? Where are the national norms that we establishing? And I think this is where we fail as a people. We keep putting the blame on this person, on that person. But I think it is all of us responsibility to hold individuals accountable for what they say. In that way, we're not going to create a separate police force to be conducting some of these things that you're talking about. Some of them, they do warrant intervention, like I said, but some of them, they are just, mere talk. So I think the determination should be, what are we saying? What is Mr. Sieh saying that has the potential to upend the entire system? Right. If they reach that threshold for me, then I see, a need for intervention. If it doesn't, if it is just the political back and forth, somebody calling somebody political cockroaches, all of those things, those are all political talk. But when you reach the point where, for example, somebody says the government will end abruptly, and then another person will say, to defend this government, I will massacre people to defend the government. Yeah, these are free speeches, but these are inflammatory war rhetorics. Right. You see, this is where I draw the line.
Thank you. And that's why I started with the role of interfaith, because anytime you don't follow the law, you don't have any standard operating procedure, and you are going by heart, right? Mm-hmm. Things going to slip. We are all in the community organization here in the United States. Take something as bereavement. Sometimes because we don't establish some policy regarding bereavement, sometimes when this person died, we collect this amount. When the other person died, we don't collect. Sometimes we don't even meet. So based on who is affected, then we do something. So I think that's the slippery slope that you end getting into when you are the interfaith mediation committee. That you're going to respond to certain things going to slip by. You're going to look at the person who's saying it. If that's Prince Johnson, and the man has his silver pistol, you're not going to pass that. If you know there's Darius DeLong, who has earlier said that part of his salary will go somewhere, maybe you are thinking that when you meet with DeLong, there will be some soft drink, right? So most of the time, if we don't go by the law, the legal process, or we don't go by what is already set as a procedure, and we want to react to it, we have this gust feeling. So what if tomorrow Dennis just says something? Is the Interfaith Mediation Committee going to call me? Or you got to be an elected official? Or how do we make that determination as to who needs to be called or not? The last time the president said Ure, as long as he's president, will never become elected in Montserrat County. Maybe and people, so when Talia Ure was attacked during the election, people referred to that. They said, oh, this is what the president meant. we say, Mr. Sieh, the interfaith, maybe should have called the president and say, hey, what do you mean? The interfaith should not really be bothered with that. I think they should
So
pray without ceasing.
what will you say
Uh,
about the threat that came from General Power? That it will mean that we will organize a grand crew defense force to defend this president. We will so do. You think
Right.
interfaith should not have there was no need for them to call her attention
It's
here.
not
What
their
do you mean?
place. It's not their place. What does our law say regarding those statements?
Okay.
That's what we should follow. And we have people who are getting paid for this kind of thing. They should do their job.
And let me just add, Ansony, what is really different? You know, the interfaith has played a very important role in the politics of Liberia, dating back to the late Bishop Francis, Bishop George D. Brown, other these people. But what is a little bit different from this other interfaith is this pageant to always do things publicly. Because like you said, they don't have the legal authority for these things. Okay. What they bring to the table is their moral authority. Okay. And most of that moral authority should be exercised behind closed doors. Behind the curtains. When they begin to, when they begin to get press conferences, they're going to meet with that person, they're going to meet with that person. The interfaith act behind the scene as the moral authority of the country, quietly moving to resolve issues. I remember in way back as 1979, it was the religious leaders that negotiated for the surrender of Bacchus Matthews. Just maybe they bear witness to the fact that, the things will not go wrong. These are the kind of things they interfere. But when you start having press releases, it's not a legal role for these things. But everyone respect their moral authority to help to maintain the peace. But mostly it should be done behind the scene. So maybe the interfaith could have called Mr. Dillon into a little private meeting and say, oh my man, we have concern. They could have called Power, all the people that you're talking about. Imposing their authority quietly behind the scene. The only time you saw the religious faith came openly into the Liberian political drama was the total breakdown of the Doe government. And we're trying to define the path to reconstitute the society. So then they became again now the moral force that people could go to openly to play a neutral role. But as to these day-to-day political activities, my advice to the council is try to do things behind the scene. We love this publicity too much. Right. I think this is why it's happening.
All right. Chief Analyst of Focus on Liberia, there, Mr. Wilmot Kunney, and to pull it right, he's the Chief Political Analyst, and he's saying they have a right morally to maintain the peace, but this press conference thing is like they want to be like the politician who want to be in the public eye because they are working publicly. Kunney said, do it behind the curtain. You are a man of God. You don't want, I know Dennis is a Bible guy. It said, while your right hand does, your left hand shouldn't see your right. Is that what the Bible said?
No, that is correct. But I have a deacon who took that the other way.
Okay.
So this deacon, they're in a church in Ohio, and there was another deaconess. Both of them are married, and the two of them started going together. So he told the deaconess, he said, look, even though we are in this extramarital activity, but the Bible says what your left hand does, your right hand should not know it. So nobody should know what we are doing.
And what happened? That's a good story.
the rest is left for your conjecture. Let's move on to 102.
Left for my conjecture. Hey, folks, Focus on Liberia. This is where we break down issues. Wilmot Kunney is in the house. The world runner Dennis Jai is here. And I'm your political bulldog. And we are making progress here. Hey, folks, you are watching Saturday Special. Let's move to the whole Zwedru incident and Yeka Koluba, trouble with the police, deputy police chief the other day. Well, we all now know the both of them were condemned because they are public officials and they behave, unprofessional, and that behavior they exhibited, clearly is not something that should be coming from public official who should be role model to young people coming up. They didn't really set a good example. We are clear on that. And then the issue that happened in Zwedru. Some people are condemning the youth in Zwedru, the youth who went there and started throwing stones at Yeke Koluba. And so the superintendent came under fire. I'm one of those who called the president and say, hey, given our history, maybe you should address the country to calm things down. But then the government came up with a statement. Mr. Jad, I don't know what's your read on this whole thing. Is it over now? Are we good? Or there are certain things that still need to be ironed out?
Do you have that? Do you have first starting with the Yeke Koluba and the 102 story? Do you have that video?
No, we don't have that video ready. No.
Okay. All right. So everything that's going on in Liberia, according to them, is always this snowball effect. This thing happened, you didn't do this, and it led to the other one, and the other one, and the other one.
Right.
So according to the people that were throwing the stones, they say this man is causing our president. We saw that in the video where Honorable Koluba is insulting the president as well as the police chief.
Yeah.
So when he went to Zwedru, they said, well, we're going to do the same thing to you. You were insulting, but we're going to take it one step further,
right,
by asking you not to exercise your right to move freely in this country. You have to leave. And so they did that. What in the whole thing that I see is this, and I said it before when I was talking about the noise. Right now, our politics is so polarized, it has deteriorated that you don't find any sense in most of what the people are doing, including big politicians. There's no sense in it, and people are just reacting on their impulses, and a lot of people are not making sense, but these people are top political leaders. For instance, if something like that takes place in Zwedru, let's say 200 persons, up to even 500, what we hear is Grand Jide. And those are the kind of statements that make me sick to the stomach. If Dennis Jah, because he's from Dodwekan, does something, all of Dodwekan is blamed. And our politicians are not even smart enough to be able to distinguish that and say, no, the people are good. And you put those kind of perpetrators in a small basket so that it will be on their own. But because we most of the time link them with a bigger population, that population now, because you already blame, we saw that in the war. Whether you surrender as an ex or army official or now, you will still be killed. So what do? You fight until you're last. So if you will blame Nimba County because, say, Gonzon did something, or if you will blame Grand Crew County because Wiabwe did something, what will the whole of Grand Crew do? They will just rally behind Wiabwe because whether or not their name is spoiling. I see that is the most dangerous politics in the country, and in as much as we don't deal with that, so as to punish perpetrators of crime, shame them and hold them accountable, but instead we lump people together and pass this collective judgment. That's the major trouble that is there. And that's why most of the time criminals, they have covers because we shield them or we put them in a big bunch, and now we can't handle that big bunch. We just let them slide.
Mr. Kunney?
Yeah, Dennis made some interesting points, and I agree with some of the things that he said. But again, what I try to do here tonight is to send a message that the responsibility to maintain the peace in our country is for on all of us. I agree that the leadership need to play the leadership role, but it is all of us responsibility. And it goes back to what I've said. Because of that responsibility that is imposed on us, we have to be very careful as to the things that we say to each other, things we say by each other, because we all have enclaves of supporters throughout the country. Now, let us stipulate to the basic thing so that we don't go over it. Every Liberian has the right to travel to any part of the Republic of Liberia without any restriction. A Liberian citizen, a Liberian political party, a Liberian organization has the right to go to any part of Liberia without any restriction. At the same time, we can also say Liberians, no matter where they are located, they have the right to protest peacefully, the presence of any politicians where they are. That's also their right. Those two things can be true. You can have the right to travel anywhere, and as a politician, people have the right to protest you peacefully. If the violence is introduced into it, this is where we depart, because no one wants violence in any of these political things. We don't want violence inside. All protests should be peaceful. Now, the Koluba thing, there are a lot of people that are willing to price the idiotic thing that the representative is doing, and when they write it, the sitting representative. But when the sitting representative is doing all these idiotic things to a sitting president, they remain quiet. He wouldn't want sitting, the president standing. He's sitting as a representative, the president is also sitting as a president. You see, and this is why I think we should, look, my brother, we need to form some consensus. The children of politicians, the parents of politicians, the spouses of politicians should be off limit to any political attack, except you insert yourself into the political process. We have a member of the House of Representatives on a daily basis that don't just insult the president, but insult the womanhood of the president's dead mother. And this man is the face of a major political party. This man is the face of a major political institution.
Mr. Kunney, let me just add before you continue. Are you justifying what was done to Yeke Koluba? Because I see you stressing that a lot.
I'm not justifying violence. I'm justifying protest. I've already stipulated that Yeke Koluba has the right to be present in any part of the Republic of Liberia. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying based on his politics, people that in any part of the Liberia, they also have the right to protest him peacefully.
Describe that. Walk me through a scenario where in the Grand Jidet scene now, where they could have protested him peacefully. How would that look like? Paint the picture for me.
I mean, I understand they were in a
local hotel.
In a compound.
Yeah. Like a compound.
They were in a compound.
Mm-hmm.
The protesters who are going, establish a certain distance and protest his presence in the city.
With flyers.
The throwing of the rats, the violent behavior was completely out of order. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, because we fail to establish these norms, because people don't pay for the association, because we interpret every right as being absolute, the very impunity that we talk about in corruption, we also carry that impunity in our association. Mm. I keep reminding you, if Barack Obama had not distanced himself from Jeremiah Wright, he would have paid a political price. So here is a man who, I'm not even talking about insulting the president. He insults the womanhood of the president's dead mother. I'm figuring out here.
Have you listened to that part, Mr. Kunney? I have listened to him insulting the president directly and calling him all sort of names. I have not heard him insulting the president's mother. Have you heard that?
Yes, all over. And so I'm saying this man is a major face. Now, look, the CCP, I know, the CCP got a lot of talented people. They got a lot of brilliant people. I'm wondering, why is this woman abuser? Why is this president abuser? Why is he a face of that political party? I don't want tomorrow.
Are there abusers on the other side of the political divide, the side you are a little more sympathetic to?
Well, I don't know of any abuser on that side that abuses the spouses, the parents of.
So you only pay attention on the across the
But
river.
and this is why we hear. Look, this is why we hear some people say, "Oh, everything that is happening, the CDC did it before." But there is no one up to this point can bring a video of a CDC representative insulting the person of Madam Salif and insulting the parents of Madam Salif.
So on the video will convince you.
But even in print, in anything.
What's about graphic? I can tell you vividly, members of CDC had woman on clothes. They spelled Kunney, rare one, on it and protested with it. Don't you think that is denigrating enough or more than even the very insult you're talking about? Or don't you see that as an equivalent?
No, I don't see it as an equivalent. It is very different from a CDC lawmaker looking at Madam Salif in the face and personally insulting her.
So it has to be a lawmaker before it reaches that gravity that appalls you?
Look, we got to be careful how we create it. The equivalent I'm creating is a sitting member of the House of Representatives.
But that person who did that was a sitting human being too, a sitting citizen.
Yeah, but Ansony, we don't reduce ourselves to that of an ordinary people when we are in leadership.
I agree.
We don't.
I agree.
We don't do that.
But a wrong is a wrong, right? Isn't it?
A wrong is a wrong, but we don't follow ordinary people behavior to be that of leadership behavior. But again, because we don't set these norms, that everything goes, everybody go with impunity. So these things, look, you cannot say you're not a child molester, but you associate a child molesters. Those who that you associate with have to define you.
Mr. Kunney, let me play devil advocate here. Those of you listening to us, I'm trying to play devil advocate here. The CDC government, to its credit, passed this law that decriminalized free speech. And so for CDC members and supporters to be getting so mad that Yeke Koluba is using these words, I'm just wondering, okay, where do I draw the banners? CDC said clearly in that law, whatever you say, you cannot be punished, you cannot be persecuted for that. That's why CDC, that's the law CDC passed. To its credit, the president put his signature on it. But then those who are sedition and support the president are mad that Yeke Koluba is doing what the president has signed into law.
Ansony, you're getting it wrong. Nobody is mad. What we're talking about here is the breakdown of civilized behavior in our society. No one is mad. I'm saying that even in the places that we work, there are norms. You understand? There are norms that we respect. And if you go against those norms, you are held accountable. When it comes to corruption, we say, oh, the people, that impunity. That's why I'm saying, even in the political arena, in this country where we are, certain things politicians say are disqualified. They got nothing to do with people being mad. You just said the wrong thing, you are disqualified.
Yes, certain things should be disqualifying. I agree with that.
The Republican Party, they ostracized their own representative, Steve King of Iowa, because he was advocating white power. Ain't nothing against the law to advocate for white power.
That's
but the question is, but is it an acceptable behavior? It is it's an accommodating behavior.
All right.
Is it?
Yeah.
So that's the point I'm making. I'm not angry about it.
Fine point. And then is
I want to say,
go ahead and
let me just end quickly. Let me just end quickly before Dennis comes. Because look, we keep justifying these things. It happens in Salif time. So the CDC people should not complain. So the CDC government will leave. Then when the next president will come, then guess what? We will say it happened in CDC time. Somebody has to break this chain. We have to restore our country to some level of decency, to some level of civilized discourse. And these things are happening in my estimation because most politicians, they don't have ideas. ideas around which they will bring the Liberian people together.
All right, Mr. Kunney, I think they have ideas. The ideas might not be good, but they have some. They just might not be good. I'm just saying might not.
National
you want to
ideas
say
that bring
something,
people
or
together.
you want me
Yes,
to?
I want to.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's put a context around this.
Right.
And that was Honorable Yaka Kolba using extreme expletive at the president and also the police chief. So I want us to go through the steps. I think what we all agree on here is, and our analysts say right, that using violence, and I think we all agree that if the protesters in Zwedru, they would have stood around there with placards, maybe beating drums, and say, we don't want you here because you don't represent, a lawmaker who's supposed to be decent, and just use, mouth.
Your mouth, and even if they have played the Yaka Koluba, card by using the same advantage that he, has been using,
Yeah.
but with their placard and not throwing stone, it will be fair game because it's their right to do so, right?
And even in some instances, it's even fair to throw some eggs and tomatoes at people for protest. But rags, and also, trying to barricade them.
Right, damaging vehicles.
Yeah, damaging vehicles. But that's unacceptable, and it should not be. But people are responding to these things differently. And I made the first point that the first thing people did is to generalize that the actions were being the whole of Grand Jida is responsible. And Mr. Sieh will play some of those. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but no, before you play, but to a point though, I think we have to give some credit to the CCB leader, Mr. Cummings, because he was able to effectively localize that behavior to the very few people in his own words. He didn't go on the kind of sweeping generalization that most of the people went. He did localize it appropriately, and put it in context. I just wanted to give that recognition to Mr. Cummings. That was very smart of him.
And we're going to play that tape as a testament that indeed we still have some smart people who will isolate those kind of bad apples and don't generalize. But we have other people who are generalizing. Some people even included other ethnic groups. And we will talk about ethnic groups too, because I think, and I said this before in other platforms or in my writings, that the whole idea of dividing our countries by tribes or ethnic group, that is so bad that you cannot be a Gribble and come from Nimba County. You cannot be Kissy and come from River G. So we got to find a way. And as a result, when these things happen, we even attack ethnic groups. But that's something that we can get to later. But Mr. Sieh, do you have that Cummings tape? As we talk about the reactions, Cummings said something right that I think he deserves some credit here.
All right, let's roll it.
We are passing through on our way to Nimba and then on to Liberia. We're very disappointed by what happened this morning. We traveled through Sino, we made a stop. Grand Crew, we made a stop. Of course, we spent 26 and some time in Maryland, my home county. We also spent time in River G, and we have none of these incidents. We have this small political stuff. We were not allowed to use the split hall in Fishtown, etc. But that's politics. But to come to Grand Jida and have rock throwing, threatening our lives, it's just unacceptable. We have a constitutional right to be here, to express our points of view, to do it peacefully, express peacefully, and to have Grandidians who I believe, if this was orchestrated and architected, this is not spontaneous. to come and threaten us is just unacceptable. This is not the Liberia we all want to live in, we all striving for, we're all trying to improve. But we were determined to have our meetings this morning with the leadership of the CPP. So we met and just had a meeting with them, and that was part of the plan, and part of the strategy was to have this conversation. We were determined to do that. We were always going to leave late morning, early afternoon to continue our journey, and now we will begin that process of, continue our journey into Nimba and then ultimately back to Monrovia. But I want the Nigerians to know, I want the people of Liberia to know that we were not and would not be run out of any county in this country. And so we were determined, I was determined that we're going to go through our process as was planned. We have done that, and now we'll start the process of our departure. Let me take a few questions, and then we'll start the...
So, Honorable...
Hey, let's do orderly. Let's do orderly.
One at a time.
Let's do it orderly.
KMTV.
Let's do it orderly. Let's start with KMTV.
This is KMTV. So, since you arrived and seeing this entire situation, have the local leadership gotten involved into resolving this? Because I saw the superintendent was here.
The superintendent came this morning.
Next.
Made no explanation, no apologies. Came and said you need to leave.
All right, folks, that was the ANC political leader and chairman of CPP, Mr. Alexander Kunney, being interviewed there by journalists in Zwedru after the incident. Let's hear from what Yeke Koluba said during their time in Zwedru as well.
Brother, I exchange my passport. We are not in the local country. How are you, sir? I'm doing very good. People who are asking for a immediate departure from Nigeria. No, I will brain the street of Nigeria. Nigeria is not owned by anybody. Let me say this. I'm getting prepared to get outside. When I get outside, the chicken that's supposed to be butchered will be butchered.
Oh, you say you are coming outside.
Yeah.
Honorable, you say you are going outside. With the level of resistance out there.
When you come resistance, man, no people didn't see me. Look what they're all at number. Look what they're all at number. They put in a 7 number when Mama Balu came here. Excuse me, alone. I will get outside. I'm coming outside very soon.
So you have two there, one coming from Mr. Alexander Cummings, head of CPP, and the other statement coming from Honorable Yeke Koluba, the lawmaker from District Number 10, Monserrado County. Two sides.
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, I know Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings is a very decent Liberian, and he brought a lot of maturity to this issue. Unlike other people that were making all these sweeping allegations, it is the government directives and other that. I think he appropriately captured the moment and localized the issue, put it squarely at the feet of county officials, and where it may rightfully belong. But sometimes to make these general statements that you talk about don't help the process. It don't help the process. So I'm happy that Mr. Cummings could come with that statement. I'm also happy that the governor of Liberia is setting up an investigative committee to determine what actually transpired. I know other people urging that the president should take appropriate action and things like that. But sometimes I'm comforted by the fact that investigations are conducted before some kind of action is taken, because we don't want, for leaders to be taking these unilateral decisions without the benefit of full information. But again, like I said, we have to try to maintain the peace in our country by our discourse, by elevating our discourse, discussing the issues. Look, I started my political activism during a period where issues were discussed. I don't remember insulting, personally insulting officials of the government. We were discussing issues. We were discussing one man, one vote. We were discussing the right to vote without property. Those were the issues. And there are issues in Liberia to be addressed. We have issue of adult illiteracy in the country going on. We have the issue of decentralization of governance. We have the issue of agricultural self-sufficiency. We have all these issues. But when people are not in a position to discuss this issue. They run to all these bombastic things.
Mr.
Because
Kunney, you forgot that war corruption? Is that not an issue?
Oh, I mean, it all inclusive. I mean, I was not trying to list everything, but corruption is an
I
issue
thought that should
too.
have been the first one you talk about.
Yeah, well, because maybe it's so obvious sometimes we just, it's just an obvious problem in our country.
All right, Dennis, let me read the government statement. All right, talking about government trying to step in to do what it's supposed to do. We have the government statement on the screen, and I will read it here, Dennis. Morovia, August 1st, 2020. Having conducted a preliminary investigation into circumstances that led to an attack on opposition leader Edizana Cummings and his entourage in Zwedru, Grand Jide County, the government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Justice, has commissioned a full-scale probe into the incident while condemning the appalling violence. In this regard, the superintendent of Grand Jide has been summoned to Morovia to assist in the probes. The minister has directed the joint security. The ministry has directed the joint security forces to ensure that all those involved in Thursday's incident are held to account for their actions. The inquiry will continue in an apparent lapse in security protocol and other reasons which contributed to the fracas. The ministry, however, notes the fact that the Cummings delegation safely visited several other counties without incident, a clear indication that the government is committed to protecting all its citizens, regardless of their political persuasion. The rights to free movement and political assembly are fundamentally guaranteed by the Liberian Constitution. The government will continue to ensure that these rights are protected at all times. As the country moves closer to election in December, the Justice Ministry assures the public that it is employing additional measures which will ensure security for all those engaging in political campaign activities. That is the statement from the government of Liberia. Dennis, before our analysts can weigh in, any words, or are they serious here? We heard about investigation in the past. We never got anything about the outcome.
And that's why I wanted to go into why these things happen before we even get to the letter. Why? Because this is not the first time, and this is not an isolated case. This level of violence, or people, when they get somewhere, like Mr. Kunney was saying earlier, we don't discuss anymore. We sing, we chant, and there's new political those activities. They are so nauseating now. We don't hear any logic. It's all sinking and all that. So, but coming to the government letter, I saw some of the Donald Trump quality in there, because the government said, hey, they went to other countries and nothing happened. It tells that government have done the job. Yeah. I don't think that was the purpose of the speech. That shouldn't have been even mentioned. That hey, this is a testament that we got it. So this is it. Government supposed to make statements, say something, So it is what it is. For government will say something to calm the people down and say, hey, we are looking into it. That's a normal way the government will say to calm the fears and make sure that they are doing something.
The chief political analyst I know is not buying what you say.
I know Mr. Kunney has not agreed with me from the Sino Association, from ULA.
I thought you guys on the same page yet.
We get on the same page, but
Dennis,
to get themselves pat on the back, I don't think that was necessary.
Dennis, I disagree with you seriously. Look, let's say the government letter is well written, it's well in place. In fact, the point emphasized, guess who was the first to emphasize the very point the government exercised? Mr. Cummings. Because Mr. Cummings does not believe that this is orchestrated by the government. Many other people believe that this is government orchestration. They believe that it was planned and directed from Monrovia. So the fact that the government is showcasing other areas that the delegation went without problem.
Mr. Kunney, I hate to do this, but I have to. Kunney accused the county officials. He said he's alleging. He doesn't have evidence, but he's alleging. He accused them. He used the word architect. He said it was architected by the county official, but he doesn't have evidence, and he said, I'm alleging here. Go ahead.
Exactly.
So and I found that statement too irresponsible. Go ahead.
So this is the point I'm making. Even the alleged victims of the act, they are telling us that, I mean, if you go by Mr. Cummings' statement, Mr. Cummings himself does not believe that this is orchestrated from Monrovia. Like he said, he put where he thinks the blame is. So the government is making this this revelation in their letter just to reinforce that point. Look, this is not our plan. We didn't design this for the opposition to be harassed in the counties. If we had done so, then why would they go to almost 4 other counties and nobody touch them except in Grand Guinea? So the government is reinforcing that point, that this is not our policy. This is not our decision. This may be something that happened at a local level, and they have appropriately brought in the local official to provide an explanation. So let's wait and see what this explanation will provide so that, we can make some other decisions. But the point I wanted to add to that is that, look, there are a lot of things we overlook in our politics, in our country, and that's organization. Again, we stipulate to the fact that every political leader, every political group get a right to go to any part of the country. But the question is, what is the level of organization? What is the level of coordination? Not in a way that you seeking approval from local authorities, but the kind of organization and coordination that will assure your own safety, to assure the safety of your delegation. Again, I keep making a place as a reference because this is where we aspire to be. When Donald Trump was going to Tulsa, Oklahoma, guess what? The Trump campaign coordinated with the city of Tulsa to plan the event. And so through pre-arrangement planning, they know where the event will be held. There was a designated place for protesters. All of these things are in place. So we need to also improve our organization. Let us not be moving on these assumptions of, that we can do this and we can do this. Sometimes we need to do a little bit of planning. This is a major political party. You have to organize and coordinate properly for your own safety, for your own security, for everything else. We all are thankful that nothing happened to any of them because we got friends in our delegation. There are a lot of people in our delegation that I respect. And if we are being regretful if something terrible more than what has happened has occurred to them. So organization is also important as we execute these political activities. Yeah, you got a right to go anywhere, but I don't think it is appropriate for you to just show up one morning, nobody know that you're in a town.
All right. Mr. Kunney, you sounded to me like, people will not set ambush in 4 or 5 places. So it is still possible that someone can be ready and say, okay, let them pass River G, all the people except for them.
Then that conspiracy theory.
No, I just don't want
that is not possible. You think that is not possible?
Yeah, I just don't want the government.
Ambush, you want to set your ambush in a place that your opponent will be more vulnerable. Don't you think so?
No, there's a conspiratorial. Let's say.
No, but Mr. Kunney, that's not my point. My point is, the government shouldn't say the fact that it never happened in Maryland, Grand Crew, River G, meaning that we're not part of it. That's the line that I don't like in that story. That's the line. And you have to agree with me because you can set ambush.
I disagree with you. No.
You can set ambush in 5 different places.
I disagree with you.
But Mr. Sieh, let's go to more reactions to this.
All right. Coming to more reaction, folks. I want to make it clear, Dennis, Community Whistle released a statement in which he condemned the violence being perpetrated by the young people. The Grand Gila Legislative Caucus also had a press conference. They read a statement that was balanced and responsible enough. And Samuel Doe's son, the late Samuel Kanyan Doe's son, his junior, he released a statement that he condemned the behavior of the youth, that it was embarrassing to the country for them to have attacked Yeke Kolba by throwing stone, and also Mr. Kunney. It was not good. That should not have happened. Dr. Gbagba also released a very strong statement condemning the action of the young people who behave in that manner. All of them, recognize the fact that it is their right to protest, but the way they did it was not proper and they should not have done that. So these are other reactions that came from there. But those were the good ones. There were some terrible ones like the one that came from what's his name? Gesim Juru, Mr. Juru. There's one that came from Eugene Fagon. Eugene Fagon gave the story about the raccoon. That raccoon can go and do it there and do it there, but he can't carry it to the palm tree. So saying that Yaga Kodoba went to the wrong place. Now, this is an official of government that is confirming that, yes, they are the one who did it. By saying that raccoon know where it can carry it, you know what I mean. But you can't carry it to the palm tree. So this is the spokesman of the government saying that you can't carry it there, you can do it any other places, but not here. We suggest that, yeah, maybe the government here were inside. That's the only interpretation I can give it. Then Gibson Guru said, 1 down, 2 to go. 1 down, 2 to go. And I talked to him personally. He says, yeah, you can say that. He said, Costa is left. I just don't remember the other person that is left. All right. He said Yeke Koluba is down. There are a lot of people that support this behavior that were exhibited by the young people. I agree with you, Kunney. It's the children's right to protest, but throwing stone is violence, and we should not be doing that. Mr. Jah, any other thing?
Right. Let's go to the statement by Ms. Muna Fahad.
Muna Fahad. That one is a related incident. So when this thing happened, I don't know whether it was coincident or not. Let me put it on the screen as I try to put context around it and bring Dennis and Mr. Kunney in. Yeah, so Mr. Kunney, just about the time this thing was happening, from what we got to know, Sekou Kalasco, presidential aide to President, we had changed a profile picture and decided that he was going with the late President Doe's photo. Muna Fahad saw it, and she said there was something. Mr. Jah, you want to read it? Or you don't have it?
No, I don't have it. You put it on the screen.
Yeah, I put it on the screen.
You can read just the mute part, not the whole part, because it's despicable. I don't want us to read all of it.
All right, I will read it. Sekou Kalasco Damaro just want to bring trouble to his people. He has joined the people from Grand Gile to start trouble. That's how the problem can start. The thing that Doe could not finish, that we will finish it. Liberian people should not sit down this time around for these unscrupulous people to cause trouble again. Underline the word unscrupulous people to cause trouble again. Charles Taylor is sitting down in jail somewhere while these people are causing trouble. This time, you will have nobody to blame. You forgot that Liberia was sitting on a time bomb. Liberia was sitting on a time bomb waiting to explode in 1990. Now it is starting all over again right before our eyes. Let the elders from the Mandingo tribe warn Sekou Kalasco Damaro. The chicken chin he's getting from where not all Mandingo people are eating it with him. I can stop that. Mr. Jah.
Right, and then she continued to link that to the elders of the crown elders, that they shouldn't. So linking these things, Sekou Kalasco changed his profile to the profile picture of Samuel Doe, the late president, which according to another person say he has been doing for some time now. We have seen people use the profile pictures of other presidents like Charles Taylor, like Mrs. Salif, and President Turbert. But this time, because these things happening together, Ms. Fahad tried to link the changing of the profile picture to the incident that took place in Zwedru. And I find it very appalling. And to that, I think she has come out to apologize. And the ANC also came out with an apology because Mona Fahad is a member or a senior official of the ANC, very close to Mr. Cummings. So these things happening together, and there came a response from our friend Vasiki Kunney, who tried to say, you can do that, you can do a broad brush, paint a broad brush on all Mandingos because of the action of one person. We are people, we are free to use our profile picture for anything that we want. Sometimes we put our significant others and it can be anybody else. So, and besides, these political leaders or these presidents, they are, because of our war, these people are celebrated in some quarters and then in other quarters, they are not celebrated. So if you celebrate your hero that is being produced by the Liberian Civil War, allow others the right and the freedom to celebrate theirs. So I find this statement linking the profile picture change to the incident in Zwedru and connecting that to all Mandingo people and to all Crown people, very despicable. We shouldn't do that in our politics.
So, can I come in?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you see, we've come full cycle. I hope that maybe my point I'm making here is getting across. The impunity that we speak about is not only in corruption, it's even in our activities, how we conduct ourselves. I keep saying in a democracy, we don't need a speech police, but people need to take responsibility for their speech. What price that Mona Fahad, she is the most visible social media figure for the ANC, hence the CPP. What price has she paid for promoting such divisiveness in our country? What price? Nothing. Nothing. She suffered no disassociation. She suffered no penalty. And I don't want her to, but sometimes we raise these points when people say, oh, what the president did to that other person. I remember when Eugene Fagon spoke in similar terms. Eugene Fagon was suspended by the president of the Republic of Liberia. So I'm just saying in our politics, because we believe in this absolute thing, nobody pay a price. Whether it is the exercise of our right, whether it is the management of our resources, everybody is moving with impunity. And we cannot build a democracy like that. Because at some point, we as leaders, we need to self-censure ourselves. Not because we have mouth, so anything that comes in our head and what we say. There should be some level of self-censure. So Mona Fahad is going with impunity, denigrating our entire tribal group for what crime? Because somebody change their profile picture. That's the crime. That is the crime. She suffers nothing.
Yeah.
So as long as we continue to encourage these impunities, whether it is in our financial management, whether it is in our political association, nobody suffer anything. Look, other people have lost a lot of association because of things that they say. Nobody got to take you to court. But we don't even have a national consensus on what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. Everything is politics. That's why I say we got no agreement on anything. We debate everything.
Yeah.
And Dennis, before we go to comments and then callers will come into you very quickly. Before we go, I want to get Mr. Kunney take on this. Mr. Kunney, to the credit of the ANC, they issue a letter, or let me say a statement, and it started with this, or it was prompted by Muna's statement that she did apologize for. But in that statement, they made no mention of her behavior. It was a generalized statement where they only talk about their members. Even though the party does not tolerate tribalism or their members should desist. Muna was the reason they had to issue the statement. But the ANC chose not to mention her behavior in that statement. Now, if as a party you are against tribalism in all forms, and a known prominent member of your party exhibited that to the core, wouldn't it have been appropriate to maybe like suspend her? But they will not even mention her behavior in the statement they issue. How do you find that?
It's supposed my point. It is an act of impunity. It encourages impunity. Look, the Liberian people say we know how the Christmas will be if we know what happened on the eve. If the ANC cannot even deal with this issue, then what ground do you stand up to say you're against impunity? This is the low-hanging fruit. Very low-hanging. You can't deal with it. You can't even deal with it in an honest manner. So Munafa is emboldened to continue to insult the ethnicity of other Liberians because she is the top surrogate of the ANC, of the CPP. She paid no price.
Yep. And that's why I find it very disturbing. But Mona is not alone in that assertion.
Oh, yeah.
We see all on Facebook and everywhere that people are linking the behavior of few people in Swedru to the entire Grand Jira County and by extension, the Crown ethnic group. And now Mona has done the same thing to link just the post or the profile of Galasco and Mandingo and saying this is all Mandingo, holding them responsible.
Yeah.
I saw this African Star newspaper. I read that today, and they were also accusing the Uyghur government of tribalism and other vices. So the African Star is published by our own friend and brother Kai Jerovule. That's why I'm calling him out on this. So they listed the positions. So when it came to tribalism, they said most of the people that President Weah has appointed come from the Southeast. So I said to myself, Kawule of all persons should know that Southeast is not an ethnic group. And so he listed names of presidential appointees or cabinet ministers that come from Southeastern Liberia. And I found that very appalling. What he did not do, or nobody has done, is throughout our history, nobody has listed cabinet ministers from Northern Liberia. Nobody has listed cabinet minister from Western Liberia or Central Liberia. So where is this new tribe or ethnic group coming from to be Southeastern Liberia? And that's supposed to support that someone is practicing tribalism. I think most of the time we look at people, when we look at tribalism, we only talk about it if from the other side. But we that are pointing the finger, we don't see our action has been tribalistic. For instance, Ansony Sieh is a crewman, and he did something wrong, and I accuse all crew people. Or I'm saying he did it because he's crew. I think if I make that accusation, I am tribalistic or even more tribalistic than what I'm accusing Ansony Sieh of.
Yeah.
I've been crying this cry for a long time, and that's why when I see that, I smell that, I'm exasperated.
And Dennis, if I may chip in, let me call out another person who is perpetrating this verbal tribalistic talk over social media. His name is Obe Obe. This gentleman, every time he has the opportunity to go live, Southeastern people, he pull all Southeasterners in one box and describe us with all sort of names, all because he detests President Weah governance model. And so everybody in the Southeast is guilty of what President Weah is doing. And it's the same very thing our sister Namfaha has done. And I will say this to the folks in the ANC. Shame on the party ANC for not at least mentioning Muna, whose behavior prompted them to have issued a letter. If my son is responsible for me to leave work, and I'm explaining the story where I not be able to call my son name. That is what the ANC has done. So Mna is beyond reproach. And they can't even suspend. This woman got to know that she blew it. And so she apologized. That was the perfect opportunity to say, look, let's suspend her for this behavior. But ANC will not do it. ANC, I will say to you, shame on you. You did not act appropriately. But to say, oh, we not let tribalism. If you not let tribalism, if a member exhibit that, what is your responsibility? Suspend that member. Now, CDC, we are criticized very harshly, even though we come from the same town of Southtown. When he could not fire Eugene Fagon, I went after him. But at least he fired Fagon after people made a noise. So ANC, here's the opportunity. And to the CPP group, all right? You say you are the alternative. When we made noise after he suspended Eugene Fagon because what Eugene Fagon has been involved in was completely out of the ordinary and not representative of an official of government. What Mna has done is an embarrassment to you as a party. Can you at least suspend her? I'm making noise now, can you? It's a challenge. Somebody needs to show that something is wrong here and whoever is responsible must be held accountable. We all made a noise, the government is corrupt doing this. This is how it starts. When you exempt an individual because of proximity, you will do the same thing when you come to power. The example that you said here does not smell well. Mr. Kunney, sorry, I'm getting excited here.
Well, but I'm happy that you sometimes you give me the political billboard, but sometimes the billboard you can eat some. Look, on this show, I've always maintained that the opposition, the cardinal role of the opposition is to create an alternative so that the people that in the country can look at the opposition and look at the ruling government and make a decision. Every day, every time we hear there are sacred cows that are being protected in government that are untouchable. Yes, a party never even won an election. They can't even touch a social media advocate. They can't. That is denigrating our entire tribe. So again, we have to judge the opposition by the examples that is set. I get criticized for saying it. People criticize the current government. They say, oh, if you're not in CDC, you can't get a job. Opposition created a manifesto here and defined who they will get job. What is the alternative?
I know you are going there, Mr. Kunney.
You know, the opposition has effectively balkanized our country. You know, the 1884 conference in the Balkans where the Europeans got together and just drew line through Africa. That's what they did. Put our entire country, Kemakande go to the person, Nimakande go to the person. Is that the kind of politics the opposition want to introduce in Liberia? We're not looking for the best and the brightest of individuals from this country to represent us, but they're going to represent us through a CCP balkanization of our country. Is that the alternative? You know?
Let's read some comments here, Mr. Kunney. This one from Martin Wilmot Brown. What do you guys make of the statement coming from the Deputy Information Minister, Eugene Fagon, before the government came up with the press statement? We discussed that already when Eugene Fagon said raccoon cannot go do a business to palm tree. Sieh, that devil in our country. Kamara Ali, you shouldn't insult dog criminals because it seems he or she's smarter than you. You only think you are smart, but looking at it, you are not. So serve, my friend. There are some wild allegations here. Robin Draper said, yes, Trump was denying his rally in New York and in New Jersey. Robin is trying to back you up, Mr. Kunney, that Trump was denying going to New York and New Jersey. To visit a county again, you need an organization. Mr. Kunney, Judge Toto, the man you handed the board chairman to is going after you.
Yes, The party need to plan. The party need to plan on what they will be. You need organization to do that.
Martin say, how can we take this press statement that is from the government seriously when the minister that is responsible for the press release makes such a sarcastic remarks about raccoon knows the tree it can cling on? Joseph Kokro say, wow, Mr. Kunney, never in my wildest dream would I have imagined that my junior brother would be an unconditional government apologist. That from Edo Kokro. Martin also said the Reverend in studio is one-sided in his analysis. He's pro-government from his tone. Mr. Kunney, are they calling you Reverend?
You know me, I get so many titles.
Robin also said that statement from Mona borders on xenophobic mentality, of which is very disturbing. Bassa man Jesse Opon. Then he put a picture of an, I don't know what that means. Thomas Awaji said, what role does Mona play in Liberia politics? Is ANC USA the same as overall ANC organization? Mr. Sieh, you are only showing your character. Peaceful President Weah have never asked anyone to title him. Okay, Dave just said those individuals, that is those that are throwing the stones, are incapable of governing. No, not those throwing the stone. Those individuals are incapable of governing. They have no ideas and will use destructive language to conduct their politics. The ANC should penalize her if they are committed to prudence and exceptional government. The ANC is disqualified to govern Liberia. Bassa man, Jesse, Obe, you got mail. And I think that's the few comments for now.
Let me read this one from Mr. Dave Ja. Those individuals are incapable of governing. Did you read that?
Yeah, I read that.
Okay.
The one from Robert Gay said, Cummings put Yeke over his car from Monrovia to Maryland.
I saw one year from Dennis eminent Wetty. He said, Dennis, please let go old story. I mean, old history, something like that.
Right, I was talking about Eula's story and the Sandy story where he and Kunney, we accused them of cheating, so that's why.
Oh, Dennis, exactly.
But Mr. Kunney, our callers have been waiting for so long. Can we bring them in? The better boy I gave you enjoying it here, so let's bring them in. Dennis, who's there? Who's ready to roll? Yeah, Pape Flomo has been waiting for so long.
Let's go to Pape Flomo. Pape Flomo, you are live.
Yes, hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for having me. I'll just do it quick because you have some other people on the line too. Look, it is very disheartening and very embarrassing. I am completely disappointed in Alex Cummings and the ANC, because when Alex Cummings was a new kid on the block, well, I'm saying new kid, you guys know what I mean. When you have a new person on the political scene, which is a new kid on the block, I'm not meaning that he's a child. But when Alex Cummings, was a new kid on the block, I thought, he was a breath of fresh air. And I was very interested in monitoring his campaign and see if I could support Alex Cummings. But right now, Alex Cummings has shown nothing to tell us that he's different from everyone else, especially when he said you cannot keep doing the same thing and expect different results. But now Alex Cummings had joined the very people whom he accused of doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. And then you guys talk about condemnation. They are condemning Mona for her, but they are not even mentioning what was done, for example. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because when Costa and the COP that Delon belongs to, that Alex Cummings, that Delon belongs to, when they burned tire in Monrovia, they heard Henry Costa saying that we take responsibility. We planned this thing for a long time. We tried it out and we'll do it again. We can do it so many times. Only for Henry Costa later to lie that he said he didn't do it. And Delon, with a straight face, released a press conference. Released a press release in which they did not even mention the violence or the arsenic act of burning fire in Central. They did not even mention it. The same way the ANC did not mention Mona Fahar's behavior. They said the COP, we do not support violence, and they mentioned District 15. that violence that was perpetrated against Mestila Ure. If they could mention District 15, why they couldn't mention the exact violence of arson, burning tires in the street, but they did not mention it. So I'm not surprised that they did not mention Muna Fahabanim because they've done it before. Look, people are always saying Yaka Koluba insults the president. He did not insult the president's mother. It's even worse. They actually call emotional abuse. You are a husband, you have so many girlfriends out there, and you leave your wife simply because the way she was looking 20 years ago, she's not looking like that no more, and you leave your wife in the house, and you're going to follow order. That's emotional abuse. You are killing that woman. There's physical abuse. You hit someone. What Yaka Koluba is doing today, he's verbally abusing our president. This is verbal abuse, even though it is not illegal, but it is verbal abuse. You cannot keep doing this. If you keep doing this, there are people, I wouldn't do it, but there are people that love this president that will be willing to kill you. Yaka Koluba, stop what you were doing. This man took his family to Ghana. Yaka Koluba took his family to Ghana because he knows very well what he's doing has a propensity to start war. So he is making around $10,000 to $15,000 a month. He can afford taking his family to Ghana. But our families that are in Liberia, our people, most of our people, we cannot afford to take our family to different countries. So Yaka Koluba is steering this hate. Yes.
Pape Flomo, let me ask you this. Dennis, I need to ask you this question. The Yaka Koluba you're talking about, I'm not defending him. My role here is to ask the tough questions, right? So Yaka Koluba,
and I appreciate you for that.
Let me ask my question. We all can tell has been the only representative to some extent this government has intimidated and arise on so many occasions. The baby case you are talking about Ghana, you are talking about when his children were going to Ghana, they seized their passport, they seized the baby formula, and so they could not travel. That brought a whole embarrassment to the government. The very Yaka Koluba at some point wanted to travel himself. There was issue. Yaka Koluba many times, at the time he was having a Christmas party at his house. Even the one of the justice ministers were going live and reporting as a journalist what was happening. There was another incident where his security guy was beaten. Police were at his place. So many instances on the one Yaka Koluba and the government. So some people are saying that maybe because Yaka is being harassed over and over, that is why he's doing it. Does that excuse him?
Okay, you mentioned so many things. I can't go through all of them because there are 2 minutes up with it. But let me just take one instance. Yaka Koluba being at the airport and his family traveling. Around that time, there was some serious issue about child trafficking, especially when we had this case about no name and some other women, trafficking Liberian children out of Liberia. There was so many issues about child trafficking. When Yaka Koluba was traveling, if we'll be very honest, he had passport for his children. But there were not substantial documentation to 2 other little kids that were in possession of the mother. And that is why they stopped them so that they could verify their papers before they could leave. Yaka Koluba could have gone there and said, look, they don't have this paper, they don't have that because of this, because of that. So they did not stop, they did not target him because it was Yaka Koluba's family. It was not because there were 2 other children he did not have proper documentation about. Let me conclude, my brother, because other people are waiting. If President we wanted to pay people, so that they could attack Yaka Koluba, he should have done that in his hometown, because that is where he has more influence over the people. He has built houses for them. Is their son? They love him. Why will you go to Grand Jida and do that? So I think the idea that President pay people in Grand Jida or pay people around Liberia to attack Yaka Koluba is preposterous. Because even a Yaka Koluba window was broken into tomorrow, I have no doubt in my mind he will say, President, we are sending our Sieh to break his window. In conclusion, the reason why they keep saying Southeast is this. For 133 years, we had one family leading Liberia. That was the Congo people. And then when Doe came, he rallied the whole country, the rest of the country around him using the Congo people. And we rallied around Doe. When when Doe was in power, Charles Taylor came, and then we got rid of Doe. But before that, people were saying that Doe's administration was tribalistic, because even in counties like Grand Bassa County, they sent a crown man there to be superintendent in the person of John Wild Crickle. So Congo people, crown people. But guess what? With President they can't say that. So they have to take a whole section of the country, half of the country, Southeast, just to make sure President fits in that narrative, and it's not working for them. Thank you, brother, and God bless you for having me.
Thank you, Pape Flomo. Let's go to Madison Camus.
Yeah. Thank you so much for recognizing me, and I'm happy to be back on this platform. You know, why not?
Thank you, Madison. Welcome back.
Issue going on back home. Yeah, thank you. First of all, we on the platform, and the analysts and you, the host, you guys are talking about we should be respectful to one another. The last caller who just left the line, he calling Mr. Alexander Kunney the fresh kid on the block. If you want to respect your leader, don't be using those kind of languages on people. That's not a political language. It's condescending. That's where some of the issue comes from. So I just want to put you on the record on that. And to the issue on the discussion here, the analyst in studio that the Pape, their own Pape, he made some, allegation concerning how Yeke Koluba, have been insulting the president's mother. The only man I know on the whole entire social media in the Liberian community that insult President Weah's mother is Prophet Key. I try to be correct on that. But I have never seen Mr. Yeke Koluba insulting the president's mother. If he can prove that today, I think I will call him aside and tell him what I will do for him personally. Because I want to see that particular video. Because we all condemning Yeke Koluba's behavior. And then two, he made some statement. He said, idiotic lawmaker. You are analyst. You're preaching that people should respect leaders. And then you are saying idiotic lawmaker. Isn't that, are you not insulting Mr. Yeke Koluba? Isn't that another way to bring it down? That will even make him more angry if you're on the line to respond to you. So we should also be concerned about the word we're using on people. If we want people to respect other people too. So the whole entire issue about words, we ourselves should be careful how we engage in the issue, not the person. And to the people of Grand Chile, I love Grand Chile people. I got some friends in the USA back in Liberia. They are good people. A few apple and more than I continue to pin them back. We expect the good ones to condemn them as we've been seeing around. And I pray that they shouldn't support those kind of behavior because Liberia, Grand Chile is not only Liberia. Liberia is made out of 15 counties. You understand? And everybody has the right to go any part of Liberia. So we expect Liberians, wherever you are, to embrace and receive your brother. If you have any issue with any lawmaker, whoever, like Ja was saying, you can hold your placard, you can protest, you can hold your placard. You do what you want to do, but don't go in the direction of violence because it will solve no problem. Because everybody in Liberia or every part of Liberia, the county, they got people that who equally in the position of doing the same thing. You understand? So we shouldn't be going there because Liberia, we have the kind of people that we're quick to be moved, and when we start regretting what we have done. So we don't want it to be that way. Now the issue on the discussion in the real community is about ideas. You understand? Just wrap it up, man. The last man that spoke so many times, but I will wrap it up like you said. So to President Weah, things that happen in the country when against Liberian people or when picking your government by, we expect you to come out and make some statement. Like look at the deputy minister using Fakon. In the heat of the issue here, he came out with that kind of nasty post. What do you expect other people to take the government to be? Will we take the government press release to be serious when the deputy minister making those kind of remarks? So we expect the president to come on some of the issue there immediately and condemn it and put the government in check. As I do not have the check that his people in check. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madison. Let's go to our other caller with area code 254. Caller, you are live. Your name and where you joining us from?
Hey, hello. Hey, I'm Obed. I'm calling from Texas.
Obed, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Can you hear me?
Comment.
Oh, we finally got Obed here.
Right.
Obed, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, I just got a call from a friend. Said somebody is on your show calling me a travelist. I don't know who was that. I tried viewing your program to see your guest. I don't know what his name is. And I'm assuming he made that comment. But what I want to say is that if you bring somebody to your show, will you please write that name so that it can scroll down and we'll know who the guest is. And secondly, I want to know who your guest, which country your guest is from, because that's very important to us. Because if we're talking about tribalism, we must first establish where the country the man is from. Right. Okay, because I want to address it in that regard when tribalism. If I do not know the country he's from, I cannot address it because I want to know which country he's from, and I want to compare him with what I say to see if he too is not tribalism. All right. Okay,
Obed, the person who made that statement is the co-host here, Mr. Ansony Sieh. Mr. Ansony, you can tell Obed what you said, and then Obed can respond.
Mr. Obed, this is what I said. It's good that you call in so that you can know what was said and hear it from the house's mouth. What I said was, you are in the constant habit of listening to you most of the time when you go live. You put the entire Southeast in a box and accuse them of knowing nothing about government. That the Southeasterners, all they do is womanize and womanize. They don't know nothing. They don't know how to run government. You, Obey, are on record for saying that more than, I can even say, 30 times, anytime you had the opportunity to go live. And I went further by saying you do this because you disagree vehemently with President Weah's model of governance and some of her officials. You say this on the basis of their performance that you have evaluated to not be up to standard. So you put the whole Southeastern people in the same box. I talked to you personally, and this is why you told me. You said, oh, my man, Southeastern people, they are my friends. I got a lot of good people. I respect them. I'm doing this to pump the Southeastern people to come up and speak against what is happening. That is why you, Obey, told me. Now, you continue to do it over and over. And I said by saying that behavior, that language is tribalistic in every shape and form. That was what I said concerning your behavior. So you can go ahead and respond.
Okay, here's my response. Now, you are giving two conflicting statements. You say region. Region is not a particular tribe. Now, the Southeast people have what, like four tribes, the Grobo, the Kru, the Sapo, over there. So when you say region, when you say tribalistic, I should be zeroing in on one particular tribe. But instead, I'm addressing the entire region, which does not constitute for a tribe. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I spoke with you once. I said the Southeastern region. I did not say the Kru people or the Kru people or the Grobo people. I don't really know. We all went to school differently, but English is something hard for us. I always say region, the Southeastern region. Okay, so I'm talking about region, not a particular tribe. But this is what I mean. Now, I'm going to give you my own analysis. Then you can challenge that. Okay, I'm going to do it in the form of probability. Okay. Out of 3 tribes, in the probability I have 3 tribes, three tribes, trials. Now, we have had a clan leadership, which turned the country into a civil war. Well, high level of tribalism to the point that you were appointing Kru people as superintendent in other counties. Now, after that time, we have another person from the Southeast, Joshua, that came in. He did not balance the government that Ellen Johnson did. He did not balance the government that Charles Taylor did with his own government. We Geo people were heavily in the NPP, but you will not tell me that Charles Taylor said Geo people are in the Southeast and put it as superintendent. It did not happen. And if I tell you right now to name 20 Geo people that have high position in the NPP, you will not tell me. I tell Charles Taylor president. Because Charles Taylor tried to balance the government across the board to the point that even when I was appointed. Okay, is that what George was doing? No. Look at the finance minister, Kru, deputy finance minister, Kru, NSA Kru, deputy NSA Kru, the chairperson NSA Kru, police Kru, deputy police Kru, 1 or 2 Kru, 1 or 3 Kru. No, I can need to look at LRA. Look at the central bank. We can go. I can give you 19 positions, all Kru and Kra and Grobo. What about the other people? Is that not tribalism? When the key area of the government is occupied by people of one particular region, you think the other people will be happy about that? The agriculture minister also from the Southeast. Everybody here posted from the Southeast. Give me name 2 judges that we as a president are not from the Southeast. They're all from the Southeast. They're all from the Southeast. So what are you talking about? Now we have had we got 20 trials. We have had a crown man from the Southeast that turned the country into civil war. We people or good people. I say, Alice Kunney, I'm skeptical about you because you are from the South, because the first two guys that came from there, the gospel plan for us. So the third one, we are really skeptical. So it will make it very difficult for you, for the laboratory to elect you. And that's one of the things that makes it difficult for Alice Kunney. Because he's from the Southeast. That's why people are skeptical for him. This is the truth. Because you two, the crowd people mess it up. Joe is messing it up. Red is going on, he's not saying anything. There's one thing killing going on, people is not saying anything. People are getting kidnapped, he's not saying anything. I'm about to marry a woman that was raped by your Southeast government. It never happened. The crowd people did not do that. Did not do that, I mean. So sorry, I'm still on my emotion. Did not do that. Okay, even when the crowd people, even when the crowd people, and we the jail people were very tough on the crowd people.
Your phone is getting bad. I just wanted to throw in something from 1847 to 1980. Which presidents in the country, which tribe they came from?
They're not tribe. Okay, what I'm trying to say is this: one complete people govern the country. Okay, but even when they govern the country, they try to balance it in the country. The problem they had was not with the whole country. No, listen. No, listen. Because you guys from the start, you've been the Congo country divide, and I'm about to say it today. The Congo people, they try balancing the government. Yes, all the way from Joseph Jikin Rawa to whatever you have taught me, King was tough. But by the time Toba came around, start balancing the government. Okay, change over time. It is not rapid.
Hold on, okay. Hold on,
okay.
Yeah. In Toba's government, tell me about the balance. When you say the balance, the government, name the cabinet minister and which ethnic groups they came from.
Mr. Jan, if Obe wants us to have the discussion,
listen.
Mr. Jan, if Obe wants us to have this discussion,
no. Let me just address it real quick. By the time the Congo people came around, by the time Toba came around, we never had a lot of educated country people. We were disenfranchised academically. The few country people that got educated, the Burma formula, back of Mafia, they held position in the Three Party government. Was Burma formula was Dr. Burma formula finance minister in 1978 in the Three Party?
That's not true.
Okay,
Obe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will tell you just to call your attention. This is what we're going to do, because usually we allot at least 1 or 2 minutes to a caller. I know I accuse you of, tribalism, because I'm listening to you. If you don't mind, all right, we can schedule it, and then you come here, and then we can debate the issue. We will appreciate that if you can, because it will not be fair to the other callers.
Hey, I'm here anytime.
All right, so I will reach out to you, okay?
You bet.
All right, so you can conclude. Obe, you can conclude, then you leave us. You have 1 minute.
Okay. What I'm saying is that Burma formula was a Minister of Education. On the Toba government, 1978, he was Minister of Education. You cannot dispute that. That's not Toba down those people. Okay? That's not Toba down and try to incorporate them. Change come over time. Okay, but what I'm saying is that they were not going around killing the country people. What you guys used to do was, when you are educated country guys, they try to recruit you in. That's what they used to do. Okay, they go for the best country people and recruit them into the Tory party. That's not what you Southeastern do. Okay, you people kill the best people from other places. Instead of recruiting them in, you kill them. That's what's happening. You kill them because you're doing you feel that you want to take control of the government. This is what has been happening during Dota, and that's what happened during right before in Joshua time. Which shocked me.
All the Southeasterners can kill. Can you imagine that kind of statement he's making? You're kill. All the Southeasterners put together can kill certain people. Obe, hey, I love for us to have this conversation, my dear brother. I will reach out to you so we can have a very serious conversation on it. Maybe we can learn from each other. We appreciate you calling.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Mr. Kunney?
Well, look, I don't really.
To the caller, you got work to do. Analyze that.
No. I don't really want to.
That 3 caller is not over alone, so don't say no.
No. First of all, I don't want to dignify what the brother said. A lot of inaccuracies. Burma family was never Minister of Education in 1978. So that is historically not true. Yeah. And so I don't want to really waste my time You say Southeast, yeah, you talk about region as if to say the region that people live in the region. If you speak against the region, you're speaking against the people that live there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't absorb you of ethnic bickering. And not animals that live there, that people live there, and those people belong to certain ethnicity. So the fact that you say Southeastern region doesn't absorb you, it's like I'm speaking Northern region, Liberia, that people live there. I'm talking about the people that live in a particular sector of Liberia. So what I try to do, what I try to do in all of my public advocacy, I don't engage in any debate with those who gave life to the CDC, and for whatever reason they fall out from the CDC. Because firstly, when they were supporting the CDC, they didn't come for my permission. They didn't consult me. And so I don't need their agreement or their permission to support whatever I want to support. So I leave it at that.
Are you acknowledging that you're supporting the CDC? Is that what you're saying here?
The CDC is the government of the Republic of Liberia. There are certain things the CDC does that I support as the government of Liberia. I'm not against my country government. I'm not against my country. I can disagree with the government, but I'm not against my country government. I support the government insofar as the government works for the people of Liberia. So there are areas we agree and there are areas we disagree. So that is it for the obese diet prep. For my own eminent George Toto, my former chairman, when I say organization, I simply mean planning. For a political party to launch itself, move from place to place, you need planning. The planning involves coordination. You arrange venue, you arrange security. These pre-planned things are essential. For your own security, for the security of the team. That's what I mean. That's the kind of organization I'm talking about. Here myself, we were in EULA. As president of EULA, I don't just jump on and go to a EULA chapter. I have to call the leadership of that chapter. The president of EULA is coming. This is what the president will be doing just to get that chapter on board. That's what I mean by organization.
I know that when he saw Pittsburgh.
Oh, then you like the
Hey, gentlemen, I'm not going to allow you guys to bring your EULA politics here. We got some serious business to handle. Dennis, let me bring you in here. No, Kunney, hold on. Let me bring Dennis in. Dennis, thank God, Brother Obe is still on his Zoom and he's listening. I will reach out to him so we can bring him here to have the conversation. Now, Obe came to defend what I have heard from him, telling me that all that I said about him is not true. But then he came and doubled down on the very thing he was trying to deny, that you're the Southeasterners, you're killed. He generalized the entire Southeasterners as killing certain individuals. When you put a group of people, whether it is a tribe, whether it is a section, and you put them in a box, there is no way you can distinguish it from tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
It is a region. So let's say Grand Crew people are in a particular region of Liberia. And he said, hold that region, the group of people. I don't see how the brother can distinguish that. And what I'm accusing strongly was putting the entire Southeastern group of people in one box, telling them all they know is to womanize. Maybe he just being playful on that one. But this one that he just said, that Southeasterners killed others, really?
Yeah.
Anybody from anywhere can kill somebody, but to accuse the Southeasterners of killing other leaders, other political figures, just because of politics, and he's not getting a history right, let him call Boyman Famuna and ask him when he was Minister of Education. Famuna will tell him. So Obe will reach out to you for that conversation. Go back to your history and read. And this brother will post on Facebook how well educated he is. Yes, you got the educational degree. I know that for a fact. But my brother, that alone in itself is not all to education. You must get your facts straight if we come on this network called Focus on Liberia, because we do our research before we speak. So, brother, get it right and get prepared. Go back to the history books and read well.
And Mr. Sieh, one fact that the other caller alluded to, and Mr. Obe mentioned that too, is when during the Doe administration, they appointed superintendent based on their qualification. Because at that time, what they thought was, as a government, you don't have to be of certain ethnic group to work in any county.
Right.
And from the report I got, that it worked very well. I've known people from Grand Bassa County who said of all their superintendents, Kreku was one of the best, even though he's not from there. But so that was an experiment that they tried, and it has its own merit and demerit. Even to come from a county, and I raised the point before, what does it mean to come from a county? Like if you say this person is from Lofa, let's say if you are Loma, born in Zwedru, you come from Lofa. If you are Loma, born in America, because you are Loma, you come from Lofa. Is that how we're doing the counties? So these are things that we need to think about a little bit more.
Right.
If we apportion this county based on ethnic group, so if you look in Nimba and we say Nimba and the prominent ethnic groups, we say the Dan and the Ma, but then you look, you have the B, you have the Kran, you have the Mandingo. What we suffer, what I suffer as a Gribble man from Sino County during the war was history did not tell anybody. Most of the rebels that were fighting, ignorant people, that Gribble come from Sino. So if you told any one of the fighters that you were Gribble from Sino County, that was automatic death. So I know what it means when these things are said and done. There were some people, even in our community, that I work with, but when it comes to ethnic group, that's another story. I want to leave it like that. But what I want to say is,
leave it there. We all have a lot of learning to do there.
Yeah, for people, they said that strategy of assigning people, giving them the job of superintendent, no matter where they come from. Like in Sino County, we have J. Ebenezer Petekwa. He's not from Sino. Okay, and they say it worked. People that were, historians say it worked well. And right now, under President Salif, what they did was the community college in various counties, they did that by tribe. So you cannot be a Mano and be the president of the community college in Greenville. Dr. Nathaniel Buseji was president of community college in Grand Bassa. They said, no, you are not Grand Bassa, you are Riverside Bassa, so get out.
Yeah, that is wrong.
These things are despicable, they are disgusting. And people continue to preach that, Mr. Kunney.
And Dennis, quickly, this is why I mean that, look, we as a people, we've not even developed national consensus. There are certain things we have to agree. But because we've not done so, we act like we are strangers to one another. No one is aspiring to live in a Liberia where the county that you born, the county from which you were born, does not matter. Maybe you can only refer to it as the place of birth. But a Liberian from Cape Man County should be able to go to Sino County and live there and aspire to leadership position in Sino. Right. But we don't do that. We cling to these tribes. We cling to these tribes. We have not built a nation. We are all tribalistic. We only cry when our tribe not there. When our tribe get there, the same thing. And the whole Southeastern thing, it don't really bother me. Really. It don't really bother me. People, you take Southeastern, Southeastern got about 6 or 7 counties. 7 counties. They don't want from the main Southeast to the greater Southeast, Grand Bassa, Riverside, you're talking about 7 counties, close to half of the counties in Liberia. If you want to paint that with one brush, you can do that with your limitation. That's not my problem. It's not my problem. But what I'm saying is we have not grown to build a nation. I feel, and this is what I feel. Any Liberian should be able to live any part of the Republic of Liberia and aspire to whatever they want to aspire to, irrespective of tribe. We shamefully remove an educated Nimbayan from the college in Maryland because we say the man was from Maryland. That was a shameful act. Even university president, like you say, who want to do it on the basis of tribe. Yeah. The trial by the PRC works. I mean, it has some benefit. Mm-hmm. Bowen was in Cape Man. He was the superintendent of Cape Man County. So we need to return to that position where the Republic of Liberia should belong to all of us. Right. I should not be restricted to only Sano County because they were our born. Because there are beautiful places in Lofa County. I should go to Lofa County and see that my Wolo Gizi there and love it and be able to live there and be able to do anything, whether that business, whether to run as representative. So that's the
Mr.
point.
Kunney, I don't know this piece of history very well. Thomas Dona someone told me that I think he lived, most of his life, or his father had lived in Nimba County before. I remember when he was appointed, people were wondering, oh, is this guy Crew? That was when someone told me, hey, yeah, he's Crew, but I think he was born in Nimba and raised there and became an adult. And to your point, why can't that man claim Nimba? Assuming he was born there. Why can't he claim Nimba and say, oh, the way I was born, that's my county? Should the people of Nimba say no because your father moved here some time ago, maybe from Grand Crew, so you are a crewman, you're not qualified for
let me give you an example.
These are the kind of things we need to change.
Let me give you an example. Jeremiah Count, his father came from Dodwakan.
See that?
He's one of the best representatives in Nimba. There where he was born. His father had gone to the Lanco area before I was born. I never saw his father. So why would you tell that man? So people sometimes they bring about that talk, but because the guy is well grounded in the county, he has done so well. So even people there in the Ganta area will just squash that. And that's how we should, someone who his father doesn't even know Dudlukan before I talk about him. Why would he go among strangers and say, well, I'm going back because my father is from Sino, so I'm going to live there? He's going to be a total stranger. He was born in Nimba. There he grew up there. He got educated, did business, and now he's working there, and the people love him. And I think that's what we should do. Now in Maserado, Yaka Koluba, Fala, and all these people, what do you say? Do you say that you should be there?
Why is Maserado County an exemption? Darrell is a Bassa man. Everybody know he's from Grand Bassa, right? Why can't the people in Morovia say this? So is it because Morovia or Maserado County is the melting pot? What is working in Maserado County, giving every ethnic person the opportunity to contest for any position in Maserado, it should be applied to all the counties, and maybe it will help us. And so we know we have a lot of learning to do among ourselves.
And I want to quickly, look, listen, I'm not naive to compare this country to Liberia, but we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to our country to be able to select things that work here that can work in our country.
Yeah.
This is the greatest country on the face of the planet. We should aspire to be great, and we should not limit ourselves. Yeah. You look at the United States, the whole issue of citizenship in a particular state is governed by residency.
Yeah.
There are some states, you stay there 6 months, you are a resident of that state.
Yeah.
Some states, they make 1 year requirement. That was able Hillary Clinton to become a senator of New York. That was able Barack Obama to become a senator of Illinois, though born in Hawaii. You see, when I talk about inspiring Liberians, these are the kind of inspirational ideas I want to see from politicians. They whole talk, the other make corrupt, the government, there's a government that is so cheap and low. You're not inspiring the population. We need inspiration to build a new Liberia, a better Liberia.
Okay, let me read your comment because we're talking about this superintendent. I mentioned John Y. Kriku. This is what Karen Kennedy said, because John Y. Kriku was successful in Grand Bassa as the superintendent. So Karen Kennedy said John Y. Kriku was different from the country tribal crown people. Kriku was civilized and educated. I regret his death. Joe Jr. is also very civilized and very educated. He condemned those criminals intended. Sieh Francis said, even in Grand Judah, Albert T. White was the superintendent and he wasn't a crown man. So please learn your history. George Toto said, we have Bala Zeze in Bon County as one of the best superintendents. He's from
he was the people's soup. The people's soup.
Yeah. So Justina Taylor, I just want to ask some of the people from Grand Judah. Is George Weah from Grand Judah? So I don't think there's anybody there. But just to buttress the point we were making, the experiment that was tried during the PRC era to send people to places regardless of where you were born or where your parents were born, it worked. And we have people that are saying, oh yes, it worked. This was something good.
Yeah.
So Dennis,
I was just
Dennis,
about to say we're gone more than 2 hours now, so we have to conclude.
And Dave just said this is why we need decentralization and competition in Liberia.
No, Eli,
exactly.
no, Eli, no, Eli and Lepa.
My man, let me
you
eat
guys
my
waiting
sweet
for?
Let me eat my sweet bitter ball, man.
Okay, go ahead, enjoy it.
This is why we need, look, these are the ideas that political parties need to bring about. How do we build a new Liberia? It's not just good to say, oh, we're against tribalism. But what's the plan? It's not just good to say we're against corruption. What's the plan? I mean, these are the issues that are lacking. This is why you see every loose talker is gaining relevance. Because these issues are technical, they are professional in nature, and they require people who know something to put them on the table. Liberia for all Liberians. Liberia for all Liberians. I shouldn't be limited to where I was born in the Republic of Liberia. We in America here, we're not limited to the state that we come to. We all moving around.
Yeah.
You see? So for me, I look for an inspirational message on the issue of building a nation. I'm looking for an inspirational message on the issue of governance, the decentralization thing. Let us remove the what I call the predatory state. Somebody said that code word I can use, but the centralized government is predatory. It's preying on the rest of the country. Let us decentralize.
Mr. Kunney, you have an opportunity for your decentralization.
Yeah. We'll get to your decentralization, my man.
We gotta decentralize the government.
We gotta close the broadcast.
Okay, I'm putting in request for another hour for my decentralization because we need it. It is important. It is huge. It is important.
Very, very important, and I think we should be able to get to that. Dennis, I'm trying to find our closing point here quickly.
Right, and that poem, that poem, that was my that Mr. Sieh is looking for. That was my if you look in Messenger, that was my way that there were a lot of things happening in Liberia at that time, and this was in 2014. If you and this poem is on my blog, dennisjad.blogspot.com.
Yeah, I got it.
And it based on what was. Let me give you some context before Mr. Ansony starts to read it. That there were certain things happening in the country, like the issue of war crime court, or the issue of the TRC. Something get messy, and the way our people were understanding it that time, it made me to wonder that what really is going on. Why are we looking at black and calling it white? Why are we calling it black? So the poem, not poem, it was that piece of literature was entitled "Oh Foolish Liberians."
All right. With that said, this is what we have for you to close. And we are not trying to say Liberians are foolish, but sometimes the behavior might be foolish. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the church in Galatia, wrote in Galatians 3:1, "O foolish Galatians, what have bewitched thee, that ye shall not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ have been evidently set forth, crucified among you." Anytime the Bible speaks of foolish, of fools, or being foolish, it got nothing to do with the IQ. Quite often, I stand corrected. It is when those who ought to know better deliberately exchange truth for a lie, or, as we say in Liberia, act like Bokabo eat their brain. For example, those who believe there is no God are referred to as fools, as documented in Psalm 14, verse 1. A man who looks at sand and takes it for a solid ground to build his house on it is described by the all-knowing Jesus as a foolish man. It is in Matthew 24, chapter 7, verses 24 to 27. When I read discussion concerning the Liberian War and war crimes on or the Truth and Reconciliation Report, corruption in Liberia, and reports and Robert Field, RIA saga, with references connected to the ongoing dual citizenship campaign, I can't help but to paraphrase Apostle Paul and say, "O foolish labyrinths, who have bewitched you, that ye should not look at the truth, before whose eyes the country and its people have suffered so much in the hands of domestic slave masters, wicked, corrupt, and incompetent government officials, armed bandits, and loquacious buffoons posing as leaders." When I hear that no one should lift a finger or raise a voice against those who committed the most heinous atrocities in Liberian civil war, because all Liberians, one way or the other, contributed to the war, I say to myself, "O foolish Liberians, who have bewitched you?" When a Truth and Reconciliation Commission that was set up simply asked for those who took part in the war to voluntarily confess their involvement and asked for forgiveness, few came forward and did just that, always justified their wrong. They did. When the unapologetic ones, some of whom we saw on video killing other Liberians, were given the slap on the wrist, and then I hear some argue that what led everyone off the hook because the commission did not reprimand 100% of the perpetrators, I am taken aback. Oh, foolish labyrinth, who would have bewitched thee? When we honor our killers and those who steal from us, set them up as gods over ourselves, worship them, and offer our daughters and boys to them as burnt offerings to keep us connected, adore them with flashy titles so that they remain almighty. My mouth is left open wide in awe, sobbing, "Oh, foolish labyrinths, who had bewitched thee?" When I hear some chastening others for recalling corrupt government officials and questioning the legality of the recording, although we have all witnessed how corruption has increased with every new government that comes to power, are grown in disbelief. "O foolish Liberian, who have bewitched thee?" When natural-born Liberians, most of whom were chased out of their homes by rebels and became naturalized citizens in other countries, fight to maintain their Liberian citizenship, but met with no such resistance and insults by the fellow Liberians, most of whom are direct beneficiaries of the good things those diaspora Liberians have acquired, I am left to ponder, "O foolish Liberian, who have bewitched you?" Something must be terribly wrong, unless the reason is that some spell has been cast on them. I don't understand how and why Liberians, most of whom are victims of corruption, abuse of power, and war crimes and unimaginable evil acts, as if they got no sense of reasoning. I am left with my mouth open, Denija writes, "O foolish Liberian, what have bewitched thee?" On that note, folks, this is how we'll come to the end of this broadcast. I'm Ansony Sieh, and I have been hosting along with Mr. Denija. Our political analyst, Wilmot Kunney, has been with us also. We want to say thank you. This is how we do it here. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia. Ober, I will call you. We can have a debate here. And please, brother, honor that debate because it's intended for us to have common understanding on the issue. We don't like bullets. We love intellectual battle, just intended for our own information. The sun, it says, we are all Liberians and we are all one. Corona is still real. Watch for it. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians.